On September 26, 2024, Alan Eugene Miller made history in one of the darkest ways imaginable, becoming only the second person ever executed by nitrogen gas. But Miller's story doesn't begin inside that Alabama death chamber. It started decades earlier with paranoia, workplace rumors, and 3 innocent men who had no idea their lives were about to be cut short. This is the story of Alan Miller, his final meal, his last words claiming innocence, and the terrifying path that led from everyday office gossip to a triple murder that shook Alabama. Let's go back 25 years, to August 5, 1999. Pelham, Alabama, was a quiet suburb where people went to work expecting nothing more than another ordinary Thursday. Miller, a 34-year-old delivery truck driver for Ferguson Enterprises, seemed like just another man starting his day. But beneath that routine was paranoia that had been festering for weeks. He was convinced his coworkers were spreading rumors about his sexuality. Whether those rumors were real or just delusions in Miller's mind, they were destroying his life. And by midday, his paranoia exploded into violence. Please like this video, share it, and subscribe to this channel. Miller made a decision that changed everything. He grabbed his pistol and drove to a heating and air conditioning distributor, where 2 of his current coworkers were making deliveries. Lee Holdbrooks, 32, and Christopher Yancey, 28. They probably saw him approach and thought nothing of it. But without warning, Miller opened fire. Holdbrooks was hit 6 times. Yancey 3. Neither stood a chance. Miller left them dying on the floor and walked back to his truck, but he wasn't finished. He drove 5 miles across town to another business, a place where he'd worked before, looking for his former supervisor, Terry Jarvis, 39. Jarvis had once tried to help Miller, giving him opportunities and guidance. But that didn't matter anymore. When Miller found Jarvis, he shot him 5 times, killing him instantly. 3 men. 14 bullets. All because of rumors that may have only existed in his mind. Lee Holdbrooks wasn't just a coworker, he was a husband, a father, and the steady hand people counted on every day. Reliable on the job, quick with a joke on breaks, he was the kind of man whose absence left a silence bigger than words could cover. Christopher Yancey was only 28. Young, ambitious, building a future that was just beginning to take shape. His plans, his career, his ordinary life, cut short in an instant of senseless violence. And then there was Terry Jarvis. Years earlier, he had been Miller's supervisor. Unlike many, Jarvis had given him chances, believing in his potential when others didn't. A boss with patience and humanity. That kindness was answered with bullets. When the shooting spree ended, chaos followed. 3 men dead, 3 separate crime scenes, and a flood of frantic 911 calls pouring into dispatch. A gunman was on the loose, and Pelham police knew they had no time to waste. Miller's description and vehicle details spread fast across Jefferson County. He didn't make it far. Hours later, officers spotted him driving erratically down an Alabama highway. What began as a routine traffic stop spiraled into a violent struggle. Miller refused to surrender. He fought with a ferocity that shocked even seasoned officers, kicking, thrashing, resisting with everything he had. It took 4 men to subdue him. In the end, they had to link together 4 sets of handcuffs just to restrain him. A chilling glimpse into how unhinged, how dangerous, he had truly become. The trial in 2000 was straightforward. 3 men dead, a suspect caught red-handed. Prosecutors argued it was premeditated murder. Miller had armed himself, driven to 2 locations, and executed specific people. But the defense painted another picture. A man plagued by severe paranoid delusions, too mentally ill to distinguish reality from imagination. Still, the jury didn't bite. They convicted Miller on all counts, and he was sentenced to death. From then on, Miller lived under Alabama's harsh death row conditions, 23 hours a day in solitary confinement. Over the years, psychiatric treatment stabilized his paranoia, but he never accepted responsibility. He continued to insist he wasn't guilty. In 2022, Alabama tried to execute him by lethal injection. But the procedure was botched. Prison staff couldn't find his veins, sticking him repeatedly until he bled. At one point, Miller was left hanging upside down on the gurney. The execution was halted at the last minute. Afterward, Alabama announced it would use its newly approved nitrogen hypoxia method for Miller. That decision made his case historic. On September 26, 2024, Miller's final day arrived. His last meal was simple: hamburger steak, a baked potato, and French fries. When asked for his last words, he said, "I didn't do anything to be in here." Prison staff strapped him to the gurney, fitted a nitrogen mask over his face, and began the execution. Witnesses said Miller shook violently for 2 minutes, then gasped for 6 more before finally falling still. At 6:38 p.m., Eugene Miller was pronounced dead. His death marked a grim milestone, the 1,600th execution in America since 1976, and only the second ever by nitrogen gas. A story that began with paranoia in a workplace ended with one of the most controversial executions in U.S. history. Eugene Miller's case shows how unchecked anger and untreated mental health issues can destroy lives. Violence offers no solution, only consequences that last forever. If this case left you stunned, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more chilling true crime stories.